She thought she could do better than her husband, but found out the hard way.
Mr. Dark, you say the defendant is a promiscuous liar who broke your heart 4 years ago, stepping out on your then relationship. You admit to having a one-night stand with her 2 years ago, but are furious Ms. Bailey is now claiming you fathered her 11-month-old son, which you say is impossible. Is that correct?
This is what happens when a woman thinks she's got it all figured out. She walked away from a good man, thinking the grass was greener. But now she's in court, desperately trying to clean up the mess she made. Lies are catching up, secrets are unraveling, and the truth? Because when you play games with love and responsibility, reality always comes knocking. And today, she's about to find out the hard way that some mistakes come with a lifetime bill.
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Bailey, you say Mr. Dark is a deadbeat who knows full well he is your son Jameer's father. You claim there is no way anyone but Mr. Dark could have fathered your son. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Dark, why would you call Ms. Bailey a promiscuous liar?
Your Honor, I've been knowing Miss Bailey for probably about 7 or 8 years, and she's had a history of things like this. And I'm just gonna tell you a little bit about myself and Miss Bailey. We was in a relationship for about 4 years.
Okay.
Everything was okay. Everything was pretty good when I first met her. We had some good conversations about establishing us a family and probably having kids, things like that. We lived together at that time. I left to go out of town to do some work. I was working out of town, out of state, as a matter of fact. I went to Florida to do some work in Florida. While I was going to Florida to do some work, I talked to Miss Bailey about almost every day. I was gone for about 3 or 4 days, you know, telling me how much she loved me, how much she missed me, and vice versa. I was telling her the same thing because we was in love with each other from my understanding. But when I come back, she was doing her best friend's hair at the house. So I came in from work, gave her a kiss, whatever, you know, told her that I was gonna walk to the store for a second to grab some things. When I left out of the door to go to the store, her best friend came running out of the door to like, hey, Terrence, wait up for a second, I'm gonna go to the store with you. So, you know, I thought that was kind of strange, like, why'd you know? But anyway, we went on to the store. Well, while we was going to the store, her friend started to tell me a story. She was like, well, I just want to tell you something. She was like, well, the whole time that you was gone.
Ah, yes, the age-old tale. She thought she could do better. Miss Bailey had a man who loved her, talked about building a family, and was working hard to provide. But the moment he went out of town, she was too busy playing house with another man. And let's not forget how she got exposed. By her own best friend. Now, that's when you know the streets have you on speed dial. And the excuse? I only cheated because I thought he was cheating on me. Girl, did you have a dream about it? A psychic vision? No receipts, no proof, just vibes. And somehow that justified throwing away a 4-year relationship? He came back home expecting loyalty, and instead, he got a reality check. But here's where it gets messy, because this breakup wasn't the end. Oh no, these two kept creeping around, and now there's an 11-month-old in the middle of the chaos. You left thinking you could upgrade, but life just handed you an invoice for your mistakes.
When was Jameer born?
November 13th.
And you're saying the last time you were really intimate was around in March?
Yes.
If Jameer's birth date is November 13, 2016, then that means the conception window would be February 17th to February 24th, 2016.
Right.
And you said you all weren't intimate until March.
Yes, ma'am.
Right.
And she had early.
I'm sorry?
And she
I
had
had
early.
him early, like, I was due November 30th.
Oh, what, a 30th? Okay.
Yeah.
So what you're saying, Mr. Dark, is this doesn't add up.
No, ma'am, no kind of way.
Because you weren't intimate until at least the second week of March. And
the first week, around the 6th or 7th of March.
So with the calculation and the date she's using, Mr. Dark, you're saying this pregnancy would only been 8 months.
Yes,
so
ma'am.
you believe she was already pregnant when you all were intimate in March.
She had to be already pregnant. And so I guess I was just a crutch.
Whatever. Like,
Yes, ma'am.
You feel like you were a crutch.
Yes, ma'am. Because from the beginning, I was there at the hospital when Jameer was born, even with my doubts, because in the back of my mind, I didn't never want to feel like, okay, he really was my son and I didn't do the things that I was supposed to do as a father. I was there when he was born. The onesies and stuff that he took home,
Okay, so
I
why
bought
did
for
you
them.
sign the birth
The Pampers that he had, you know.
Miss Bailey, what are you feeling in this moment?
Like,
What's
I don't-
upsetting you?
And the reason why I signed the birth certificate, to answer your question, is because you told me at the hospital that if I didn't sign it right then I
No,
wouldn't
I
have
did
another
not.
opportunity to sign it.
You-
That's what you told me right there at the hospital.
no, I didn't. You didn't have to sign it. I didn't force you to sign it. You
If
signed
I
it on your
didn't
own.
sign it, what was gonna happen?
Let's talk numbers. Baby Jameer was born in November, which means the conception window was in February. And Mr. Dark? He's sitting here saying they weren't even intimate until March. So tell me, how is it that he's supposed to be the father? Are we working on a new pregnancy calendar where babies pop out in 8 months instead of 9? Because this woman is out here bending biology like it's a personal hobby. And when asked who else she was with during that real conception window, silence. Not a word. Not even a fake excuse. That's because deep down she already knows the answer, and it's not the one she's pretending to believe. You'd think after getting into one paternity mess with her ex, she'd be a little more careful, but history repeats itself when lessons aren't learned. The sad part? It's not just her reputation on the line anymore. It's this child, growing up with a father who isn't even sure if he's supposed to be there.
Miss Bailey, have you been in a paternity situation before?
I have. With my ex.
You have?
Yes.
With your ex. So one of your other children, there was a paternity question surrounding that.
Yes.
And you got it resolved? It was determined
That he wasn't.
the biological father. Do you know who your child's biological father is? That
Yes.
child? You do know.
Yes, I do.
So now history is repeating itself in this moment for you.
Yes, it is.
Oh, but here's where Mr. Dark truly fumbled the bag. He signed that birth certificate with doubts. That's like signing a contract without reading the fine print. Now, legally, he's on the hook for this child, even if it turns out the DNA doesn't match. And Miss Bailey, she knew exactly what she was doing. If you don't sign it, he won't have your last name. Ma'am, manipulation at its finest. Instead of proving paternity first, she strong-armed him into signing away his financial freedom for 18 years. And now, after months of dodging, denying, and deflecting, she's suddenly emotional because she's being questioned. Girl, if you were so sure, why does everyone else have doubts except you?
State your name for the court.
My name is Yana Bradley.
Miss Bradley, thank you for joining us. You are what relationship to Mr. Dark?
I'm his current girlfriend and I'm pregnant with his
Oh, now
child.
he's girlfriend.
Okay, what would you like to tell the court?
Well, first, in my personal opinion, I don't feel like the baby looks like him. That's just my personal opinion.
So you do not feel like there is a physical resemblance.
No.
What else do you know about the paternity situation?
Well, my due date is November 19th. My conception date is February 24th.
Oh, and we're now 1 year later, but what you're saying is that you have a similar due date
Yes.
as the one that was presented for Jameer, as when Jameer was born.
Yes.
Okay, well, we two different people. Like,
It don't matter.
but still. And my baby
You're
looks-
two different people, Miss Bailey, but at the same time, comparatively, there's going to be a child that will potentially be born around the same time as yours, exactly 1 year later, which further indicates that this window of time of February 17th to February 24th is a more realistic time frame.
I understand, but still, like I said, he was the only person that I was having sex with.
Yeah, you said this the same to the previous guy. You told him the same exact thing. You
No,
was
I
the only
am.
person.
Just when we thought it couldn't get worse, his current girlfriend walks in, pregnant with his child, and lays down a fact that makes this whole situation even messier. Her due date, November 19th. Her conception window, February 24th. The exact same time, this woman claims she was only with Mr. Dark. So, unless this man is teleporting across town to impregnate multiple women in the same week, someone's lying. And let's not overlook the pettiness. Miss Bailey sitting there with the most smug look while his girl, who's about to have his baby, has to stand there and witness this circus. No shame, no guilt, just the confidence of a woman who's made a habit of blowing up relationships. And Mr. Dark? Well, he's looking real nervous now, because that text message evidence about coming over for a movie is about to hit him like a freight train. This is what happens when you don't cut ties with your past.
So, Jameer is 11 months old. What has been your relationship with
That's why you don't
the
have
child?
your first child, because you don't do for her.
I was in Jameer's life. I've been a part of his life. I've gotten him. I've taken him with me. I've kept him. I took him to Alabama with me when I went to my granny's funeral last month. And my whole family,
for all
the
a
whole
couple of
family
days because
said
of
that
what?
that's not your
A
child.
So when you brought Jameer with you to your family member's funeral,
Yes, ma'am.
your whole family said to
whole
you, that's
family.
not your child.
The whole family. My mama said, boy, if you don't get that baby out of here. I'm telling you, that's exactly what she said to me.
Listen, ultimately, it's Jameer's life that's truly at stake in this moment, because your relationship seems to be resolved, but the paternity question has not been resolved.
Right.
What are you hoping for, Ms. Bailey?
That he step up and that he do for my baby. Like, I don't understand. And I grew up without my parents, so I want him to be there for Jameer.
So you're saying you grew up without your parents?
I did. And it was very hard for me.
I can only imagine.
And it was
And you
very
do
hard.
not want that for your son.
No.
Now, let's take a moment to talk about boundaries, because this man, with doubts about paternity, actually took this baby to a funeral with his whole family. And their reaction, boy, if you don't get that baby out of here. Let me tell you something. If your own family is looking at the child like a crime scene investigation, that's a sign. He's sitting there pretending he had no doubts, trying to be a good man, but in reality, he's been playing daddy to a baby he was never sure about. And that's the part that makes this so tragic, because at the end of the day, it's the kid who suffers from all this foolishness. The adults are out here acting like teenagers, and this child is caught in the crossfire.
Even if he has not bought him something, he will be buying him things and
That's
paying
right.
child support because you put your name on that birth certificate, and that makes you the legal father. You do
told me-
understand that, right?
Okay.
And this is yet another reason why the stakes are so high today, is because you have basically acknowledged paternity. By signing that birth certificate, you have said to your state, I am acknowledging that I'm the father of this child, which means you're responsible to take care of the child. You're going to be responsible for child support for this child.
Exactly.
And this is what is problematic, because many men don't understand that when they are in that moment, if they have doubt, they cannot sign a birth certificate. And I don't care what type of stress, duress, I do not care. You can't do that, because at that point, you are putting yourself on the hook as the father of this child. And there is no guarantee that a state will remove your name from that birth certificate. You have to petition. Even if today it is determined that Jameer is not your biological child, that does not change the fact that you are his legal father. And this courtroom is about, of course, resolving paternity issues for children, but it's also about empowering and informing people about what they need to do in situations like this, because this is not some momentary thing. You're responsible for this child. He's only 11 months old, and you got another one on the way. Jerome, I'm ready for the results. These results were prepared by DNA Diagnostics, and they read as follows. If you need paternity court, call us at 855-883-6223. In the case of Dark versus Bailey, when it comes to 11-month-old Jameer Dark, it has been determined by this court. Mr. Dark, you are the father.
And now, we arrive at Judgment Day. The DNA test results are in, and the courtroom falls silent. And what does it say? Mr. Dark, you are the father. Oh, that was a plot twist. And the moment the words hit, you can see the reality finally land on his face. He's been denying his own child for a year. Meanwhile, Miss Bailey is sitting there, arms crossed, looking like she's been waiting for this moment her entire life. And suddenly, all the accusations, all the denials, all the doubts, gone. Because now, there's no running from the truth. And guess what? That child support check? It's already in the mail.
When I first told you you were the father, Mr. Dark, I saw genuine emotion on your face. Because I felt like in that moment you understood that for almost a year, this baby has been denied and questioned, and he doesn't deserve that.
Right.
And I have to say this to you. Yes, Ms. Bailey has made mistakes. Yes, she has had these situations before. But let's be clear, it could not have happened unless you participated too. So for all the blame we want to just put on her, really, this is both of your doing. And the only person that's truly suffered is Jameer, because he's almost one, and he really hasn't felt the full, complete love of his daddy. You don't know whether or not he has absorbed that negativity or that rejection. We have no way of knowing because he can't speak for himself, and that's why this courtroom will speak for him. And Ms. Bailey, I want you to understand that even though you didn't grow up with your parents, and I know in many ways you were looking for stability, love, acceptance. You've been out in the world as a young woman, giving yourself away and engaging in activity that does not serve you. And you understand that, right?
Right, I do.
You're a beautiful young woman, but that doesn't mean you go lay down with every man that says you're cute. That's right. And I want you all to take advantage of the counseling and the resources we have for you.
Let's make this clear. Both of them made mistakes. Miss Bailey, she played too many games and found herself in a paternity rerun. Mr. Dark, he let his feelings cloud his judgment and ended up legally tied to a child he wasn't even sure was his. And now, the consequences are permanent. This man just denied his own son for 11 months, only to find out he was his father all along. And now, he's got some serious making up to do. Because Jameer, he didn't ask for this. He didn't ask for his mother's reckless decisions. He didn't ask for his father's doubts. But he's the one who has to live with them. So, Miss Bailey, hope it was worth it. Mr. Dark, congratulations. You just won a lifetime of responsibility. She thought she could trade up, but instead, she got a front row ticket to a courtroom she never wanted to be in. And, Mr. Dark, he learned the hard way, bad decisions will always come back to haunt you. Subscribe to our channel.